Welcome, everybody, to the Lynn and Scott Show, as we all see it, with Lynn Serrano, the great communicator among us all, and I'm Scott Jones, and all these special people. Lynn, we got a full house today. This is crazy.
Yes, we got Barry Selby, we've got Rex Sikes, Flo Mina, Mary Kay, we've got the birthday boy from last week, to Hipster, Mr. Schilling, Scott Schilling,
Right.
and the one and only Find It, Debbie Bettendorf.
Hey, guys.
I'm super excited that we're all here. This is
crazy.
Yeah, last week, Scott was under the weather, and we had Rex chime in for him, and Scott wanted to say something to Rex.
I don't know if you heard me before, Rex. I was very upset with your imitation of me. Not only because it was insulting, but because it was spot on. It was Rex. You got yes.
He's still doing it.
I haven't been without it for a week.
Well, it explains a lot. I use a vape, and Rex has been sniffing highlighters. So explains a lot about where we're at here today.
Welcome to the Misfits.
Yeah, really, seriously. Last week, I will say that I was sick, and it was my fault because I did not know eggs went bad in the fridge. I did not know that 2 months after the expiration is not a good time to eat eggs. Listen, I'm the guy that says if it's still cold, it's still good.
You know, I got something else in that vape.
Well, they made them if they were going to go bad.
But you know what? I just found out. You know, they said most eggs, if they're like the way eggs were intended, don't need to be refrigerated.
Yeah,
They have to be refrigerated after they're pasteurized or processed. But then what happens also with eggs is because they've been bleached and washed and then put in the freezer or whatever, or in the refrigerator, they can condense moisture on the outside of the shell where bacteria can grow. So if you're not careful, you should always rinse your eggs off. You don't have to rinse your chicken apparently, but you're supposed to rinse your eggs.
And this is a segue, right?
Rinse the eggs, not the chicken. It's all in the timing. It's all in the timing.
The joy of being
Hold on,
imperfect.
let me hit my lighter. It's kind of funny. It's a high lighter.
Hi.
Love it, Rex. I love that humor. I do.
Who needs a comedian, Steve Rizzo? We got Rex.
That's right.
I got a million of them. My name is Rizzo. I got a million of them. Yeah,
We can improvise.
Just
Everybody.
Oh my God.
I think that's a new theme. Each week, Rex is going to have to imitate one of the panel.
Oh my God. Oh,
Lynn's like, I don't know about that.
No, I'm
Next
good
week,
with it.
we're going to give you a challenge. Next week, you're Debbie. All right. Good luck.
Bring a good wig.
You have to see me in rollers.
He's gonna have to find it.
That's right.
Right.
Go with
I produced that show, Find It. Yep, that's right. Which, speaking of Find It, will be tomorrow. So you can find it tomorrow and you can find it today. You can find her here today and find her tomorrow.
What am I looking for? I hope I find it.
May I add one last thing? I know I've kind of been cutting up here, but your shoes are hard to fill, Scott. You are the man. And for me to try and fill your shoes even for an hour is almost an impossible task.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it.
Aww.
And, it's just my honor to know all of you and to be associated with all of you. And, I feel like I've been put into like a lineup with really neat people. So it's really cool,
Well, duh.
I feel the same.
I'm talking about a police lineup.
Well, me being a former police officer, I lined them up for you. There you go. Duh. Duh.
And we should acknowledge what? We should acknowledge our first timer. Mary Kay's the first time on our show with us.
Our background
First time.
measuring.
Welcome, Mary Kay.
Yeah, really,
Thank you.
I hope
Yes,
there's no
welcome.
initiation.
This is it. She's like, what?
It goes as we go along with the show.
Ah, okay, a
That's
long
right.
drawn out one.
Yep.
Okay,
And we
I
have
bring it
Christopher- We
on.
have Christopher Roush watching. Love Christopher, little brother Christopher.
Love
Wow,
him.
look at the amazing souls rocking it today. Does my heart good to see you. Well, we love seeing you and knowing you're there.
Let me also give props and shout outs to Mary Kay, who's just absolutely marvelous moderator, co-host.
Yes, she is.
Aw, thank
She is.
you.
She's,
Thank you, Rex.
she's awesome.
Is Mary Kay, is that a hyphenated Mary Kay, or do you have a middle name, or is that your middle name?
Kay's my last name.
Oh, Mary Kay. My name's Deborah Kay.
Oh,
I love the K. Okay, gotcha. Kay's your last
Sisters,
name.
you're sisters.
Mary Kay, we're sisters. Well, I introduced Debbie to twerking.
And Mary Kay. I'm going to call you Mary Kay now. Mary Kay Cosmetics. Mary Kay. I have not learned yet. Have you?
Me neither. No,
It's not
it's
easy.
all
Okay.
about the fun.
You
All right.
girls will have our own little private time.
Call you
on
later.
that. Yeah. If there's one that can really teach that one, right, Debbie?
I know who
Well,
it is.
Ooh, okay.
Now, obviously, if Rex is going to imitate Debbie, you're going to have to twerk, Rex.
I was just wondering, what the joy of twerking is all about. These girls like, oh, the fun. But I'm like going, well, if Barry and Scott were twerking, would we have as much fun?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it'd be hilarious.
Well,
It
it's
would
all
be
about the
hilarious.
booty, and Lynn, it's all about the booty, and Lynn's got enough to supply. So
Haven't
Yeah.
moved like that since my last prostate exam. All right.
And shall we start the show?
This is where we're going.
you see, this is how imperfect we are. And
We are
sometimes we get in the back room so early, and we just start laughing and being crazy there. That's where it all starts. The magic starts there.
Well,
Yes.
as the proctologist would say, things are looking up.
No.
Oh boy.
Ay, Dios mío. This is
So-
wild. You know
Let's
what?
get to the topic. Let's get to the topic before we.
Well, we started the topic when we were talking about the imperfect egg.
We're-
We're the
yes.
imperfect eggs.
That's right.
Yeah, and today we're even. We got 4 girls and 4 boys here.
Ooh,
Oh,
How
there
about
we
that?
go.
How
There
about
we
that?
go.
It's
Guys,
a
we're
comedy
outnumbered.
show. Love it.
Right.
Loaded.
So spread
and
it, go. They're supposed to be talking about deep, serious, important topics, but it's all shtick. It's all
Yeah.
Yeah. We are really.
Well, put it this way.
spread it around, share it. Go right
That's
now
right.
while we're live and spread it.
That's
everywhere.
right.
Mhm.
So
That's
people
right.
can see a bunch of imperfect people together, and we still making a good life and laughter here.
And that's
I will
Got to
stop.
get
I will
Rex
stop.
addicted to highlighters now.
He's the highlight of the show.
keep snorting those highlighters. You're gonna glow at night. You won't be able to sleep.
Wait.
Yeah.
I got one too.
Oh
You're starting a new trend.
no! Oh no! I thought Flo was reaching for one. I was going to be what?
Oh, there we go.
Oh my
It's a
gosh.
nookie. It's a pacifier. It's
Oh
a
my gosh!
substitute.
I love the
Oh.
silence coming down from the bottom
I
corner
have
of Scott
two.
Schilling saying, "What am I doing? I've got a career. Why am I here?"
No, used to.
Used to. All right. Let's jump into the topic because there's so many good things. I mean, we've already gone in and started this kind of feeling, which is what I wanted to get to today, which is we're all very busy people. We're all successful in our areas. And we're trying to become more successful in areas and more business. And we have all these things going on, families. But, the joy in our lives comes from us just being imperfect and us laughing and us being joyful. And it always has made me laugh. And I think I've said this before, but I'll go and spend $10 to go to a movie theater and sit and watch somebody slip on the ice and laugh in a theater. And then I'll walk outside, I'll slip on the ice, people will laugh, and it's the worst thing in the world. It's like, I've got to just let it go. Enjoy the moments, be imperfect. I've been around people who thought they were perfect, and they were the most annoying people on the planet. And I will not surround myself with those people. I love people who are wrong a lot. I love people who make mistakes. I love making mistakes because that's where the joy is in my life. And I just want people to remember that on your rise to the top, it's okay if you slip a few times and you slide down a few rungs and you have a few mistakes. And some of those mistakes are the things that make the climb worth it, because that's where you find your humor, your joy, and the best parts about yourself and the people around you. So I really wanted to kind of lean into that with everybody today about how important it is to just be imperfect and to not put on this face of I'm the perfect person and I've got all the answers kind of thing, but to really enjoy the imperfections that we have. So let's just throw it out there, see who wants to kick it off.
We got Hipster in the middle.
Scott,
he's got the
you didn't realize, but you put yourself in the middle.
Yeah, this is not the perfect spot right here. It's interesting that you talk about that. When I went into the speaking biz, you just want to have fun and get out in front of people and share good messages and you have a whole lot of fun. And then I had an opportunity to meet somebody that wanted me to work alongside and watch his presentation. Man, it was perfect. And he said, "So you ready to join us?" I said, "Absolutely not." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Because you didn't miss a word. You were a robot. You were absolutely plastic." And he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, and then I watched him do it again the next day. And it was it was just so dead on. It was so ridiculous that it was so manufactured. Now, this is at a time where I was about to do 21,557 words twice a day for 6 years. So, but how do you make that fresh? You know it, but nobody else knows it. And every session has to be a new and different thing. Now, trust me, when you do that same 21,557 words over 1,500 times, you got it pretty well nailed. And there was one day, I don't know, there was a noise in the audience or something, and I stopped. And I just started laughing. And I ducked my head, and I came back up, and I said, "Sorry, I just told myself a joke." And I kicked it off again. And it was like one of the most fun times on stage ever, is just being goofy and realizing that it's not all about perfection. It's not all about having it. And it's being able to react and just have fun with it, go with it, because the rest of it's just too freaking hard. If you got to remember every bit of it, it's just crazy. So just enjoy your life. Go, do the very best you can, as much as you can, and enjoy it on the path. You're only going to be at that spot one time. It's already gone. So you might as well have some fun doing it. That's why this show is fun. I just love to watch the start of this thing and watch you chuckleheads go at each other. I just kind of sit back and go, what the hell are they talking about?
Chuckleheads. I love it.
I love you too, Hipster. Oh my goodness.
Chucklehead's like the nicest thing anybody's called me today. So I'll take that. I've been called a lot of things today. Chucklehead's pretty good.
God's like, man, that's a compliment.
Yeah, really.
Speaking of compliments, Miss Beautiful.
Oh, goodness.
Debbie.
Well, thank you for saying
Debbie.
that. Hey,
love you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for always inviting me. I enjoy this group. I feel very blessed to know all of you. I know we're missing Steve Rizzo and we're missing Bob Donnell tonight. So it's not a perfect show unless we're all here. So
we're here in spirit.
Perfect. I've come a long way with understanding that imperfection is perfection. Let's be honest. And just what Two Hips just said, it made me laugh because having a presentation maybe not go as planned, the guy that had the perfect presentation, it was boring. It was like artificial. It wasn't real. And, being able to be your real self and be comfortable with that and knowing it's not perfect, that realization is really cool. I was brought up in a family where, you follow the rules. It's almost like you're raised this way, you do things this way, everything's, compartmentalized and you check the boxes and this is good. and which is great. I mean, I'm a rule follower by nature, but my point to this, I think, if I can make a point, is sometimes you don't need to check all the boxes. It doesn't make your day perfect. It's okay to get to side rail, to go off the rail, to be off-roading and say, okay, this is what, and even like, let me say this, even on a vacation where you have everything planned out, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to see this, this, and this. Well, one day it's storming and you can't do the outdoor thing. Well, then you're like, oh gosh, that's a bummer. Is it? I don't know. I went and found something new to do that was never on my radar, but I sought it out and it ended up being the most amazing thing ever. So sometimes imperfection and things that maybe aren't what they should be in your mind turn into being exactly what it should be for us. So I'm on this path of that, and I've really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to share it with all of you imperfect people.
Oh,
Debbie, I love the fact that we got 4 women here, because I wanted to ask a question. Do you think there's more pressure on females to be perfect than men? I mean, just from the time you're a child, where like a bad boy's okay, but you're supposed to be a good girl and all these other things. Has there been more pressure for you to be perfect and not
I'm not
make mistakes?
also a man, so I can't compare. But I will tell you that I feel like there's equal pressures that are put on men and women. For women, it is you be a good girl, you follow the rules, you don't do this before you do this. You know what I'm saying? All that.
Yeah, yeah.
But with boys, as they're growing up, and I think there's been a shift and a change in the newer generation. But I know, don't cry. You're not supposed to cry. You be strong. You be tough. You know, so there's different pressures for both genders. So I do think that there's a lot more pressure on a certain look and a certain vibe and a certain way to act and all of that for females back in when I was being raised. And also for boys then to be tough and they can't cry and things like that, you know.
Great point. There's a great point. There's pressure on both sides for that perfection of, you know, either no emotion or looking perfect or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Talk about looking perfect. Talk about looking perfect, Barry. Whoa.
Birthday
boy from last week.
Studley do right.
1 week later.
So to respond to Debbie's point, I want to actually suggest it this way, because what came up for me was thinking that yes, perfection is something, or the pressure is certainly put on women. I think for men it comes from inside. I think we have this need to measure up, to be better than, or to be whatever that is. A lot of men carry that weight inside, which is totally false. But we have this thing about, you know, when we make mistakes, it's not good. I mean, I suspect a lot of men, because I know I do, and I'm not the only one, I think, who has this internal gauge of like, did I do okay or did I not? Did I screw up? Did I do better? And then, you know, we want to be perfect because it saves us judging ourselves in some ways. You know, one of the ways I remember this story about how kids, you know, babies learn to walk by getting up, falling down, getting up, falling down. So nobody's perfect. Nobody got up and walked the first time they tried doing it. Nobody. It would have been in the Guinness Book of Records if it was. So I know that we've all made mistakes. So this assumption of perfection, it really is something like perfection in the imperfection.
Right.
You know, if we do things imperfectly, that's perfect. You know.
Right. I love that. Perfectly imperfect.
And remember, imperfect, you can't spell it without I am. I am.
The title is The Joy of Being, I'm perfect.
There you
go. So whoever typed that was imperfect.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to spell.
Whatever.
A missing apostrophe and the whole thing's different.
Putting the men and women aside, Barry, I mean, just you personally, I mean, you know, are you able to just be imperfect and laugh at yourself and enjoy things and all that? Did you have struggles with that?
When I was younger, I was always trying to catch up to those around me. I was felt less than. So I definitely felt imperfect when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
As I've gotten older, it's really like, it's not like intentionally making mistakes, but it's more about laughing. Like you were saying earlier about, can we laugh when things happen badly, or, you know, stuff happens. I mean, obviously if something bad happens, but I mean, I ride a bike often when I go hiking quite frequently when it's not raining. And I've come off my bike several times in the last few years. And I would say almost every single time, my first thing is, am I okay? Good. Now laugh. It was almost like the reflex. I mean, it sounds simple because things that, you know, don't have any serious injuries. I'm okay. Then I can laugh about it because I didn't hurt myself except some bruises and maybe a couple of cuts. So the thing for me is that I get to laugh on those moments because perfection when I'm running a bike ain't happening. You know? So,
I got stories of falling off a bike, but let me tell you.
I'm doing it now in my adult life. It wasn't when I was a kid.
No, I'm just talking about in Milwaukee just a few years ago. It's just, that's a story and a half. Whoops.
All right, let's throw somebody else in the center square
here. Hey, I'm going to be right back. That's my neighbor calling, so hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay. What about Mary Kay?
Go ahead. You take care of that.
Oh, Flo.
Oh, I'm in the center. Okay.
It's Flo.
Well, I'll go in
and
answer the question of, you know, do girls have more pressure than boys or men or women? I was thinking back to when my kids would get ready for their prom date or winter formal or whatever formal it was. I think my son spent just as much time getting ready as my daughter did. So I think I don't know. I think they were kind of equal. So just saying that. And today I heard something that reminded me of our topic. The cliche less is more. They changed it to mess is more. So I thought that was like, that's us right now. Imperfect. Embracing all of our perfections imperfectly.
That's awesome. I had not heard that.
But do you personally find joy in your imperfection? I mean, do you get like uptight about mistakes and imperfect, or
this is it?
This is you're cool with all of it, right? If you don't like
it, then well, it's not my problem.
Oh, perfect. Oh, what do you think, Mary Kay?
What do I think?
Oh, well, I said that. No, the statement was perfect.
Yeah,
I'm giving you a hard time.
Well, I'm definitely not perfect. I know, you know, as a kid, I was not happy with myself as is, and part of that came from my interpretation of my parents' expectations, whatever that interpretation was. I had to be the best, you know, Greek Cypriot culture, originally British, and then I moved to Canada, and lots of, you know, things that my parents had to deal with as new immigrants here in Canada. And for some reason in my mind as a young 7-year-old, I thought that I was like second in command in the house, and that I had a role to play, that I had this script that nobody ever really gave me, but I definitely had it in my mind. And so if I wasn't living up to that script of being the perfect big sister and being the second in command in the kitchen, you know, after my mom and dad, you know, I really struggled with that until, excuse me, until I got older and I realized that I don't have to follow anybody's script, and I don't even have to have a script in my head about myself. I'm not an actor. I don't need to be an actor. I need to be somebody that, like, you know, the topic of this room, the joy of being imperfect. So maybe up until five years ago, before I turned 50, I was always worried about, oh my God, there's a gray hair. And now, if you can see, I'm sporting the grays and I'm looking at the grays and I'm going, oh, I got grays. They're multiplying. Right? Might as well.
They're electrified. I just killed my grays today, actually. But
I'm getting mine covered tomorrow. I guess I don't like looking at them. Let's just.
And I will do that. I will color my hair.
Right.
But it's just, I'm not in a rush to do it. I'm not gonna. You know, not do something in favor of, oh my God, I gotta color my hair. I can't go out like this. And oh my God. So the freedom came with realizing that trying to be perfect and striving for that perfection all the time, it's the thief of agility. It's the thief of being able to use new information that comes in, because shit, I didn't plan for that. What am I going to do with that? I'm going down this perfect path that I've put for myself. So even when I'm doing my own visualizations, there's only enough detail in there for me to get it and feel it. I'm not plotting everything in that visualization because it doesn't have to be perfect.
Wow.
Wow,
that's great.
I love that, Mary. I'm into it.
This is why I love doing the show on Thursday nights with you, Mary, because you come up with some great stuff.
That's amazing.
And if you guys ever get a chance to watch our show on Thursdays, please join in.
Yes.
Thanks.
Shameless plug. I don't have a book to hold up, so I'll tell you about my show. But I love this topic. I love talking about this stuff. And, speaking of, listen, Rex, I'm not an actor, but I played one on TV once. So why don't you tell us?
Well, there's our actor. Yes.
Yeah, the dogs may go crazy here in the background.
Well, don't forget
Scott Jones here.
You have an interesting kind of because you've been on film where you've got to fulfill a role, and you've been, but you've done a lot of different things where you've got to fulfill roles. So how does imperfection fit into that?
All right. Good point.
I'm glad you asked. I don't have to answer it, but I'm glad you asked.
he almost Rex does just as good as this.
Scott Jones here, and do you love a green lawn? Do you love a clean lawn?
Oh, I love that. It's great. I like lawn. And I will not lie.
It doesn't have to be green. It doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't even have to be seen. So I have a number of ways to answer your question, but it's funny that you asked, because I actually was going to talk about acting. But before I do, I would like to say this. Two parts to we're all inculcated based on certain stereotypes that are obviously in our genetic or physical makeups, whether male or female. Mm-hmm. Women have the reputation of being chatty, and men have the reputation of being stoic, or not verbose. Well, some of that's based on the fact that we do have a corpus callosum, this bundle of nerves that connects the hemispheres, and the women's connections is far richer, far thicker. It has a greater transfer of message from words to feelings, from left to right, from up to down, to front to back, than men do. So if women are able to talk about their emotions or their feelings better, it's because there's a certain body physiology and a neurochemistry and everything that gives rise to that. And so they exemplify what they do as human beings, and men exemplify what they do. But then we're inculcated along those lines. So if we typically, the caveman was silent and quiet, then they'll go, hey, stop crying, shut up, just be the guy that you're supposed to be. And if the woman is emotionally crying or being able to connect, they go, yes, well, see, be genuine, be authentic, just express your feelings. And then imperfection or pressure depends on how you relate to your conditioning or your inculcation process. There are men who are very, very emotive, even if they don't have the same physiological stuff, and women who can be very, very stoic or quiet or different, even if they are predisposed to that. So, it's a perception thing. If you're trying to fulfill an obligation to your environmental conditioning, we're always going to be messed up. Because there's just too many rules and too many things and too many things. We're always going to be imperfect. So if you can't accept that, right, you're left with trying. And what? Again, we were inculcated with that when we were supposed to get 100%, not 99, not 98, and certainly not 63. So there's always been a pressure for us to try and be perfect and not make mistakes. So it makes sense that people feel or get upset or get bent out of shape if they're not right on. That said, the only thing perfect in one person's estimation is a plastic flower. And you say, well, why is that? Obviously there could be imperfections in the plastic, moldy process. Yeah, but it can't change. It is what it is. A living flower has imperfections. A living flower changes, it withers, and it dies. So if you're alive, you're always going to be imperfect. The only thing that's not imperfect is something that can't change. So it is what it is. But when it comes to acting, This is wonderful. We spend, if you're in theater, you spend 6 weeks rehearsing your lines and your marks and hitting spots so that on opening night and subsequent nights, it looks like you're doing it for the very first time. It's extemporaneous when it's very, very highly rehearsed. A movie that I shot a few years ago, back in the old days, I'm young enough to remember this. It used to be that a cinematographer would look through a viewfinder and the director would say, okay, here's the opening, here's the end. The camera's going to do this, the actors are going to do that. And then at the end, they go act, cut. They go, how was it for you? And the cinematographer will go, well, that was good. Or, we had a problem. And the director had to trust the cinematographer. And so they would they say, well, print it anyway, or print these takes, and they might print 2 or 3 or 10 or whatever. They go and they look at the dailies and they go, that was good, that sucked, there's a technical problem with this, the actor was bad in that. We'll print that one, or we go back and we reshoot. Well, now, after the last 20 years, we're what's called Video Village, where instead of there being the director not being able to see everything, the cameras are there, and then there's this video monitor, and so you can see what's going on. And what they do now is they create their shot looking at a monitor. So as an actor, they go, okay, act, and you say, well, and they go, cut, and you go, and what? You go, well, the light was that, okay, act, well, and they go, cut, what? Can you move a little over to your side? Okay. Well, cut, what? Cut. Well, I love this. This, for me, I thrive on this. I love extemporaneous speaking. I love the fact that I have to know my lines. I love being challenged. I have to think on my feet. That's what we do as speakers out in the world. Anything that could go wrong might go wrong. Somebody in the audience might do something or throw a tomato or whatever, and you have to live with it, right?
Yeah.
But I do this thing. My first day working, this beloved, wonderful, he's become a truly good friend, comes up to me and said, I don't know how you do that. And I go, what? He goes, you just did it. He goes, when they interrupt me like that, I can't remember my lines. I think I'm quitting the business. I'm like, well, don't quit the business. He goes, well, they interrupt my process. I can't do it that way. It's changed.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, this is what I live for. Can I get through this? Can I deliver? And lastly, oftentimes actors are very, very well rehearsed, and they will sit down with each other, they'll run lines and do everything. But where they oftentimes, you'll hear this when they talk, they go, we decided to improvise, or they go, improvise one for the camera, and they go, that's when the magic happened. All of the stuff that we knew, everything that we did kind of went out the window because we were able to just go with whatever was coming up, or we listened in a different way, or we had a different intention or a different objection. And suddenly all this thing happened, and you can see the sparks in the chemistry. And that's what gets sometimes put in and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But the point is everything is changing always.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to lock it in, you're going to be fighting it's kind of like trying to dam a river. It takes more energy to dam the river than it does to direct the flow. So just go with the flow. And
go with the flow.
Go with flow.
Everybody go with flow.
Go with the flow.
Have some brittle. Just make it a day. And,
right. Get some jam. We're so happy to see your beautiful face.
I love this topic, and it's like, Rex, you made a great point. A lot of these imperfections and things that you might see that are the funniest moments in films are things that weren't planned. They're things that just somebody came up off the cuff, or something happened. There was a moment in the movie, The Birdcage. Robin Williams is trying to grab soup, and he slips and falls, and the guy's trying to put the shrimp in there. He's like, screw the shrimp, and he's running across. He wasn't supposed to slip and fall. None of that was supposed to happen, and it turned out to be one of the funniest moments in the film. My first time on stage, and the funny thing is Lynn and I were on stage together. She was a stage director, and I was an actor back when we were in high school. But my first time on stage, I was the town drunk. I was Injun Joe. I was in Tom Sawyer, and I was supposed to fall over a tombstone and pass out in this scene. And I fell over the tombstone, not realizing the stage steps were on the other side of the tombstone. And I went down the stage steps on night number 1. So I'm laying at the bottom of the stage steps, and I'm trying not to cry because men don't cry, and trying not to bleed because that just freaks everybody out. And I laid there through the scene, and then the lights went down, and I was able to get up and go. And I thought I screwed up. I thought it was the worst thing in the world. And the director says, "Can you do that tomorrow too?" But those are the moments, and the acting and all that stuff aside, and doing morning radio, you mess up all the time. You just keep going. That's where the funny moments are. But in everyday life, just little mistakes and little things. We beat ourselves up, or people beat each other up, or beat themselves up. And those are the great moments. Those are the moments, the unplanned, unseen, slip on the ice, fall on your butt moments that are just the greatest things. And those are the things you remember. Mm-hmm. So why are we going to make them such bad memories? Lynn, we didn't hear your part on this.
Well, I'm a little distracted. My neighbor called me, and my little dog's running around the neighborhood somewheres right now.
Oh no!
So, and I think somebody's trying to peg him right now. So my thoughts a little off right at the moment. But again, imperfect is
Debbie
imperfect.
Can fill in for you and Scott. Here,
I'm good. I'm keeping an ear out. He should know to come home. So hopefully it's all good. But no, the imperfectness, it's just one of those things where media, even back when we didn't have much media, but we did watch shows and things like that, everything impacts you when you're a little child. And it's funny because if anything, it was hard to not have the right fashions and things like that. But, it's funny because we impact ourselves with what we think is the standard. And when we realize when we get older, I mean, shoot, I dyed my hair today. So if you saw last week's thing, you see how light it was compared to now. But when it comes in the gray, I'm like, that's my wisdom. I mean, 57 years on earth, I'm like, hey, it's going to come out, and it's, it shows on my resume. It's all good. But, at first it's like, oh, I couldn't handle that. And I just learned that when it's growing in, I just don't look in the mirror and everything's great. I mean, that's just... that's one way to deal with it. But
just think about that. You earned them.
Yeah. And you're right as far as when I did my lingerie parties. I mean, I'd stand in front of anywhere between 20 to 100 people at a time, and selling lingerie and fun stuff and everything is kind of stressful sometimes. And I was the big girl in the front, and some people are like, "What a..." they're trying to drink because they're all nervous about me, doing this thing. And long story short, half the time I'd not practice what I'm going to say because the crowds were always different, didn't know whatever. And it was just funny because every time they'd say, Lynn, we've been to many of your shows, and every time it's like the first time, and you blush, you fumble, never know what you're going to say. And it's like, and I'm not going to change that. That's why on my shows, it's like, it's off the cuff. It's who I am. And half the time I can just laugh at myself. I mean, I went to a therapist group once, and it was for domestic violence group. And something in there just made me laugh. The therapist got pissed off at me. I'm like, but I'm freaking happy right now. Can I just laugh? But she didn't think that was funny. So I never went to group after that. But I made myself laugh. I kid you not. I made myself laugh. What's that?
It's not in their wheelhouse.
No, she really got mad at me. She goes, "It's not funny to laugh in here." I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
But I'm not crying. I mean, like,
I got beat up by the nuns when I was a kid because I turned around and smiled at someone during mass before school. So she pulled us aside and spanked us on our bottoms when we were in first or second grade for smiling at each other during service.
Yeah.
So there are people who just don't think, a joyful expression is appropriate anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So needless to say,
sorry, you.
What's up, Barry?
Yeah, Barry. Go.
Well, I just want to share a quick story because what Rex said and Scott said just reminded me something happened when I was a lot younger. Back in England, when I was in London, I went to go see a band called Supertramp. If you ever heard of Supertramp?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Take the long way home. Yeah, absolutely.
Breakfast in America, brother.
Yahoo.
So they were doing a concert. I think it was at Hammersmith Palais back in the day across London. And I remember going to the concert. And we're all like going in excited to watch the show. And right before they went on stage, the power went out. And the thing is, we thought at first it was actually part of the show. Because we thought, it's just going to go black and then it's going to come up. It's like, no, it didn't. The band came out and played acoustically for 20 minutes before the power came back on again.
Wow.
They're playing basically by cigarette lighters and by candles because there was no power. But they basically were playing acoustic instruments. The amount of applause and love they got and the support. And we were so moved because they weren't playing, they weren't playing their normal stuff. They were just improvising jazz and everything else for like 20 minutes. It was one of my favorite concerts of all time because I felt so filled up by their freedom to just play, have fun, and be imperfect. And
Wow.
the applause was just went through the roof. Like, we knew it was there.
Ended up being a special.
That's awesome. Now,
Wow.
I'm a little disoriented here, but did we hear from our Flo Jam, or does she slide over?
Yeah, we heard.
She did talk. Okay, that's when I was busy. Okay.
I'm just, is it just me, or did anybody else get out of that story that Barry was going to concerts before they invented electricity? Is that what
Yeah.
I kind of missed something there.
Yeah, you did.
No, I love that. Those are those.
That's a good story.
I want to ask Scott Schilling.
Premeditated.
Two hips.
The most premeditated, kind of self-aggrandizing, scripted line to win approval from somebody is 2 or 3 words. Hello, New York.
Yeah.
How you doing, San Francisco?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have nothing else to say, you go, "Hi, Florida."
Yeah.
And people go,
You spend it on town.
Provided you remember where you are.
Yeah.
So I noticed that Tom Ginn is here, and he said, "Hello, everyone, everywhere, all at once."
Yes, he did.
Nice.
I haven't seen that movie yet, but I heard it won a lot of awards.
It did indeed.
Hey, Tom.
I'd like to bring Scott Schilling back into the middle for a second, Lynn, because at the beginning we started this, you were talking about like people with those perfect speaking styles wanting the perfect and stuff. But what has it meant to you? And because everyone here, pretty much everyone here, in one way or another, is some sort of coach or leader or trying to influence in some way in their business or what they do. How important is it that you are relaxed and that you make mistakes up there, that you're natural? I mean, how important is the difference between that and somebody who does speak every word perfectly?
Oh, it's huge because it's all about connection, quite frankly. And one of the things that what was I think a quantum leap in my stage presence and thing like that was actually watching a fellow speaker that may not have been the best speaker technically, but just owned the audiences. And so because he owned the audiences, he didn't have to be the perfect speaker. And so I just watched what he did to connect, and I incorporated that into it. And that connection ability is everything. And that's what gives you, you don't know who's going to be in the audience. You don't know what's going to happen. We were doing a thing in the Bronx at the Marriott by the Brooklyn Bridge, and there's a woman full blown on crack in the second row. I mean, she was standing up and hallelujah and all sorts of stuff, and it's like, we're talking about stocks here, for God's sakes. What are you doing, hallelujah? Wrong lady, you are in the wrong room. But you realize, I mean, full blown addiction going on in the second row. And you can't help but then have to play with it.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to just go away by itself and all that. So you can't be so, and that's what became fun. That's how you keep everything fresh, even if you're doing the same talk over and over and over again, because the audience is different each time. Well, and the people are there and their reactions and the different stuff. So you want to get it down. You want to get it down so well that it seems like you don't have it down, quite frankly. And then you can just play with it. And that's the key, is being able to play with the audience, because you never know when you're going to get heckled, when you're going to have somebody do something or just totally tune out or whatever the case might be. So the more that you can connect with people and just be real, and that's the fun part, because that's when it really gets. We used to do debriefs in situations, and I could name people in the first 4 rows in the seats they were in, because you're looking at them so much and you're doing things like that. So it's just what you learn to do over time. It's the fun of it all. It's the playing with the situation.
Okay,
like
not to interrupt
somebody come in.
Not to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad I saw
that was
your
Cordy
daughter.
running through the room. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave because I gotta go find my dog. So I may be
Hey,
back
good
in a
luck.
few
Okay.
minutes. Okay. I may be back in
All
a
right.
few minutes. I don't know. But
All right,
we'll see.
we'll keep the show going.
Yep. Thanks.
We'll keep the show going.
Aw.
See, again, another imperfect moment. The dog takes off in the middle of the show. And if we had cameras to follow her around looking for the dog, that'd really be great.
That would be good.
Was he supposed to take off before the show or after the show?
So I'm kind of getting the feeling that we're all kind of in agreement that it's our imperfections that really make everything worth doing.
No,
And,
we're not.
and those are the fun moments. unless you're on stage with Rex, get it right, damn it.
You're wrong. You're right.
It used to, when I did morning radio, because I had 3 hours every morning on the air talking, and I used to tear myself apart. I'd listen to the show. I'd get off the air and immediately go into the office and listen to the show and tear myself apart. I said this wrong. I said that wrong. And I had to start leaning into my mistakes. And when I made a mistake, instead of trying to hide it, I emphasized the mistake.
Mhm.
And everybody enjoys that. And it becomes like, all right, fine. It's no big deal. It's no problem. And it's not just doing that in front of an audience. It's doing that just every day. We do silly, stupid things. Even pulling out in front of somebody in the car accidentally, you kind of cut somebody off a little bit, and instead of reacting other than kind of laugh a little bit, wave and say, I'm so sorry, my fault. You just own it and move on and not make it a big deal. We're so imperfect. I've watched people try to be perfect, and I've watched them destroy themselves.
Oh.
I've watched them destroy themselves. I watched them bury themselves in with mental health.
We talking about you, Barry?
No, Barry wasn't one of them.
The pressure,
Barry wasn't
Scott,
one of
think
them.
of the pressure that puts on, though, when you try to do that.
What's that?
Nobody's perfect, and think of the pressure you put on yourself if you have to be absolutely perfect. And that's where disappointment comes in. That's a missed appointment. You've got this expectation that you're gonna hit all the marks and do all the different stuff and whatever, and the reality is nobody does it 100% of the time. And so if that's your expectation, boy, you're putting a whole bunch of pressure on yourself to make that happen, which just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unless you're a skydiver instructor, you don't have to be perfect at anything.
Well, that's true. Oh my gosh,
Learn how to count.
terrified me.
There are things like your parachute should perfectly open.
Yeah, it should be.
What if your instructor said, "No, I'm going to do my best, but
Yeah.
I get it right about half the time"? You'd be like, "See you later."
Most people have come back for a second jump.
But the first time
Most people.
the first time I went skydiving was back, before rectangular chutes became really popular. And they did a crash course, and they called it a crash course. Everything good, Lynn? All right, great.
All right.
And so they would say, okay, here's what could go wrong. One of your taglines could go up over the parachute and divide it in half. So they called it a Mae West because it would look like boobs. It would look like breasts because the rope divided in half. So if you have a Mae West, here's what you do. Or your chute you get tangled up, so you jettison your chute, you pull your ripcord on the other chute. And lastly, we're not really sure what to do about this one, but if you get caught in the tail of the plane and you're being called student in tow, and if you are conscious, put your hands on your head,
If you're
and we will try and cut you loose, in which case you will jettison that chute and pull your ripcord on the other one and hopefully land it. So, and they said, now, you ready to go?
It is terrifying.
Like, yes, let me at it. Of course. I mean, they did everything they could to terrify you.
It is terrifying that they would have a term for somebody getting caught on the back of a plane like it happens a lot.
It was wonderful. That's California for you, and they go, and I'm here nightly, and
Yeah.
Here's an idea. Stop getting instruction from skydivers. Get instructions from skylanders. Those are the ones that I'm worried about. All right?
So I have a story on that one.
Yes.
A personal story on that, because I jumped after they put these rectangular chutes into operation. So I did fly one of those. I've done jump once, but it was an accelerated freefall jump, which is not the static line or the
Free falling?
No, I did the freefall one, not because the static line was where you have 25 cables. Say again? Tandem. That's the other one. I did the freefall one where basically you get trained for 2 days and then jump out with 2 jump muscles holding onto your suit. You're not connected to anything else.
Right.
And basically you get your own chute and guide yourself in. the great thing was back then we did videos. It was VHS tape. I don't have it anymore, but I remember watching it because what happened was we jumped out the plane at I think 10,000 feet. It was too cold to go full height. So when we jumped out, there was all the things we were trained to do. It's called, and you basically first thing you do is you go into what's called a hard arch. Or basically you put your arms out stiff and your legs out stiff to create the frame. In the video, you can, and I had to look back and see this. I noticed my legs were just like dangling in the breeze. They weren't locked in place. because so what happened was when we came down the chute, we pulled the chute at 5,000 feet. I then floated on this big giant rig saying the chute. The two jump masters have like sports chutes, so they go down much faster than me. They're on the ground guiding me in by radio. I turn the chute, guiding it in, pulling left, then pulling right. I land perfectly on the spot, except that when I land on the ground, my legs buckle completely because they were asleep. So I landed on my butt. Perfect landing on my butt. So the jumpers come over to me and say, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm having a blast. It was so much fun." The thing was, I was looking back, is that my reflex kicked in. When I jumped out of the plane, I tensed to land, and when nothing happened, my legs went to sleep. So
wow.
Focused to hold that position, and I didn't do it. But the thing is, I always crack up and I think of that because I noticed that my perfection was immediately shattered when I landed on my butt.
Yeah.
You almost broke your
All would have
butt.
been fine. All would have been fine if it weren't for that stop sign I landed on.
He almost broke his butt.
I didn't. No. Because the thing is, I broke the chute. I broke the chute to a dead stop. I was perfectly placed, except I dropped that extra couple of feet onto the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Let's take it once. Let's take it once around for our thoughts on imperfection and just what our imperfections mean to us, and we'll just do a quick once around. Lynn, you're going to be throwing them in the middle.
Yep.
Okay, Debbie, you're up first.
Yeah, I'm up. I'm in the hot seat. How you doing? Okay, so
How you doing?
How you doing? I
How
really.
you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? I don't have my highlighter.
I'll lend you mine here.
I got two.
I have such a perfect example of doing your imperfect best. And I don't know how many of you are familiar or know Jason Freeman. Jason Freeman is a man who has a TED Talk. He is a professional speaker, and he has a pretty severe speech impediment. And he went his whole young life wishing he was different, wasn't embracing who he was, and got to a point in his life, and I won't tell you his whole story. It's not my story to tell, but he is his awkwardly awesome, embracing his imperfect best. And I find so much inspiration from this man.
Yes.
And he has his own podcast, and, he has a TED Talk, and, for him to be able to be vulnerable and put himself out there and just be his imperfect best makes me, I love the man. Like he's inspiring. And it just goes to show that if we embrace ourselves and do our imperfect best, that's plenty.
And look how many people he's inspired to be themselves because he's being himself. That's why we should all come forward and share who we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say. I'm inspired by people, everybody really in different ways. But as far as this topic is concerned, he's like the poster child for me for being appreciating and doing your imperfect best.
I love that.
I love that.
You're right.
Love that.
Mr. Hipster.
Scott.
Yeah, I just think one of the things, with everything that's happened over the last number of years, there's been a lot of turmoil and tragedy and stuff not working out so well. And it's actually been a little bit better to not have to be so on the spot and a little more responsive and reactive and just having fun. And I think what it's done also is hopefully made people a lot kinder and more understanding to, be there for people and just, not expect so much perfection and just say, hey, we've all been through it together. We've all been through the muck. So let's just throw a little muck at each other and have some fun,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We
have been through a lot together the last few years, all of us. It's brought us in some strange way, being secluded and isolated brought us together. It's a weird thing. Flo.
I love you, Flo.
Oh, what you know? What you know, Flo?
I just love the perfectly imperfect statement. I mean, just that's just how it is. It's just, and I love Jason. Jason is hilarious. And when he was ordering his food or at a restaurant or something, he would always tell the waiter or the waitress, I'm not drunk. I have a speech impediment. And we told him that people listen to him more intently. So even Bob was saying, I wish I had a speech impediment so people would listen to me.
Well, maybe we need to imitate him.
Yeah.
I mean, Rex can imitate him.
And Flo's farm girl edibles, not that kind of edibles. And I'm glad she's got the not that kind edibles because, you know, people still remember what I used to do. So anyways, look around. Look at Mr.
He's like, who said that?
Mr. Rex.
Rex.
Unmute, sir.
You got to turn your mic on if you want to be imperfect.
We're going to listen. We're going to read his lips.
Well, you know, George Bush Sr. said,
Oh,
I didn't get to be president, so I have to eat broccoli. So now that I'm president, I don't have to eat my broccoli. And I didn't get this old or young in order to have to wear a tie and a suit. You know, I mean, why do we have this thing where you have a certain kind of decorum, like politicians and all these people wear suits and ties? We all know that they don't look like that 99% of the time. They just look like that in front of the cameras or when they're in front of your audience or where. I mean, why do we dress up to go to business? I mean, I get it, right? But I consider myself Mr. Rumpleman. I want to wear a Hawaiian flip-flops, you know, and a pair of shorts. And I got yelled at going to a billionaire's home because I'm in shorts and I'm not going to wear a suit in somebody's house. What the heck is that about?
Because they weren't wearing a suit. They weren't wearing a suit themselves.
A jacket, and he thought I should be wearing a jacket if I'm going to be a speaker. And I'm like, you know what? I could talk without putting a tie on.
Yes.
Right. But here's the thing, because I'm not advocating for people to be schleppy. You know, I can be, but you know. If you have a problem in your house, like, you know, you have a leak somewhere, you should fix the leak, because if you just kind of patch it up, ultimately it's going to, you know, break down. There are people who try and hide their imperfections and flaws. You see them in the stores, you see them out, they're wearing the wrong kind of clothes. They're the people who are obviously, you know, septuagenarians, octogenarians, wearing, you know, 16-year-old clothing styles and things like that. And people go, why don't you dress your age? You know, why don't you dress your weight? Why don't you color yourself? You know, everybody's trying to hide something, and it's kind of like, if you just spackle things, you know, ultimately the flaws are going to break through. They're going to show, and everybody's going to know that they're there, because you can't use concealer forever. And so you might as well just be your authentic self. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. They don't have to like it. You know, if you're trying to get somebody to like something about you that they don't like, and that you'd be better off without them, well, let them go. You know, if it's your own family members, maybe you have to negotiate how you're going to dress or behave or act or things like that, because you love each other and care for each other. But the point is, instead of investing so much time in being what we're not, how about investing time in becoming who we actually are?
Nice. I love that. That is a mic drop, I think. And
Rex,
also,
I'm with you.
Oh, yeah, that's a highlighter. Smoke and drop it like it's hot. But you know,
I went to that.
Drop
go
it
ahead,
like it's hot. Just real quick on to Rex, what you have said, it is so true, all of it. But, you know, and I like the, you know, don't just spackle it, you know, fix it, you know. And I think that caring so much about what other people think starts with us not really liking or knowing ourselves. And so if you're on a journey to find yourself, love yourself, then it doesn't really matter that much. You don't mind as much what other people think. I just wanted to say that.
I love that.
Absolutely. And Rex, I'm with you, because I went to a friend's house and they were all wearing suits. I wouldn't wear one. They threw me out. Of course, it was a pool party and it was bathing suits. So I wouldn't wear one. They threw me out, but I had to be me. All right. Who else we got? We got Mary Kay to go in the middle.
Yes, Mary Kay.
Mary Kay in the middle. Freedom. So, yes, imperfection is freedom. And I think Barry had mentioned it with the Supertramp concert. And I mean, just think about bloopers. There's whole entire shows about just bloopers,
I'd
and we
rather watch
love
that.
them. So we can make the rest of our lives a bunch of bloopers and enjoy ourselves. Fun, freedom, flexibility.
I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you can visit us.
Thanks for having
and be
me.
with us more times. Okay, who's next before I put you in here?
Barry.
I think Barry's the last one.
This time around, yeah.
Did we
I'll say
put
this.
Scott in there too? Go ahead.
Scott's
Yeah, he's been there.
Okay.
okay.
Go ahead, Barry.
Since my area of focus is in the area of relationships and helping people have better ones, the thing about relationships are they are never perfect. The problem is people think they should be, and then they get in a whole bunch of trouble trying to make the other person perfect and themselves perfect. The reality in relationship is you got to be the thing when you're in relationships is you're going to make mistakes. Ideally not massive ones, but you make mistakes. The key thing is, do you clean up your mess? Because to me, if you look back and go, okay, I did that, let me fix that, or I said this and I shouldn't have, let me fix that. Apologizing, forgiveness, those sort of things. Those are what make relationships work better, which is really what perfection is constantly growing and learning and becoming better. It's a journey,
Very.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to steal something. I think Rex has made this point before, but I'm a firm believer. There's a billion, how many billions of people on this planet? There's one Scott Jones. There's a couple of Scotts here on the show, but there's one Scott Jones. There's one me, and I was created to be exactly who I am, and it's kind of like slapping nature in the face for me to say I shouldn't be who I am. I should be who I am, and who I am is the guy who walks into walls, eats bad eggs, makes mistakes, fumbles over his words. Sometimes could be inappropriate, sometimes could be funny, but I'm just who I am. And there's a reason I am here. I've got my daughter's here and she's thriving. Why is she? If I didn't exist the way I existed, she might not be here. She might not thrive. And it moves on, and it has ripples. This is like a pond. And I might see the waves that are right next to the stone I throw in. I'm the stone, and I go in the water. I see those things, but I don't have any idea how far that reaches out, how many people are affected by the fact that I am who I am, and how am I supposed to be anybody else? Scott, perfectly imperfect right here and happy with it.
Boom.
Awesome. And after all these years, I still love you, Scott.
All right, so we got to restart the show. Rex is back. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to the show.
Take two.
Cut.
Wait, stay.
Start again, Rex. Cut.
I'm sorry, Rex, your entrance was bad. Re-enter the room.
Are we still live or what?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're about to go.
And Mindy says, wait till your ring light goes out, takes you out in the middle of a lie falling into you. Yeah, I bet that was something else. And then we got Mr. Horton.
Oh,
yeah, thanks for being here. This has been a very interesting and perfect show.
Indeed.
Going to chase my dog and have my neighbor call me, and he was 5 houses down. I called and he started coming. Thank God no cars were coming down the road, but he came.
Wow.
So I didn't have to chase him. So I'm glad about that. So
wonderful.
Anyways.
Awesome.
Anyways, so all ends well with the dog coming home.
Good.
So anyhow, I think he's still missing his sister, and she passed away in January, and I think he went to go look for her. So it's pretty hard. So, Scott, any last words before we
just
leave?
A big thank you to you guys, to everybody who's been joining us on the side, and Mindy and John and Jacques and everybody else who's been joining in. But you guys to take time out, and this is God's honest proof that they still haven't come up with any good TV programming on Tuesday night that we can get all of you here. So this is I appreciate all of you. I love what you all stand for, what you all do. You guys fulfill something that I need, which is friendship, honesty, and truth. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Love you guys. Love you guys so much. Love everybody. Have a good day, and just be yourself, but be the kind self.
Perfect.
One to yourself and then to another. Love you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
you.
Keeping me